Over 5 million views and thousands of responses telling us about Shakespeare and Tinkerbell and all sorts of things. The Evil Queen has broken the internet, the story about Walt Disney World and a family that was greatly surprised. Folks, we're here to tell you that cast members are now reaching out to That Park Place and to this channel with their thoughts, and you're going to be very interested in what the women of Walt Disney World have to say. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel. We are so happy to have you as we continue down the rabbit hole that leads us evermore explaining entertainment and keeping you ahead of the culture curve. Today, we are going once again into divisive territory, but we believe that we have the truth absolutely on our side, and if we did not, we would not be doing this. Joining us to go on that journey, John Trent of That Park Place and Jonas J. Campbell, investigative reporter. Gentlemen, welcome.
So good to be here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, here we go. Here is the latest article out of That Park Place covering the situation. We put out a post on X, generated more than 5 million views and quite a few responses, thousands of responses. Many of those responses, though, seem to follow a very similar pattern, buying into some sort of fib that Tinkerbell is actually a guy going down the zip line at the Magic Kingdom, repeatedly, maybe even 1,000 times, saying, wait till these guys find out about Shakespeare. It's just all kind of odd, the interest that's being generated and the patterns that we see. But let's talk about what cast members themselves have to say about this Evil Queen situation. And that, of course, is that the Evil Queen came across in a different way than a family was anticipating. This article says Walt Disney World cast members express support but concern over the Evil Queen situation. And of course, folks, this is what we're talking about. This is the thing you've probably seen before.
You are my favorite Evil Queen. Oh my God.
Also my favorite. Yes.
And so this is someone who is playing the Evil Queen and seems, by the way, to be far outside the bounds of the normal parameters for playing the Evil Queen. Now, we're not talking about something crazy here. It's this simple. According to people that I've talked with now, and I feel very assured that they're telling me the truth. Maybe Disney changed it in the last week. I don't know. But according to them, the wardrobe requirements for the Evil Queen to play the Evil Queen at Walt Disney World and Disney Parks is you cannot be any taller than 5'10". That doesn't seem to be the case here. Can't know for sure. We have some pretty strong evidence in that direction that we're not yet releasing. But all of this is to say that there may have been some exceptions made so that this individual could play the Evil Queen. And maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe there is. We'll talk about it in a moment. But here is what a cast member had to say to us regarding this situation. The cast member said, "Hi, I appreciate you reaching out. I would be willing to comment and answer as long as the questions are ones I'm actually allowed to answer." Talks about how strict Disney is. Cast member says, "The only thing I personally feel safe saying as a statement is that inclusion is a key for a reason. It's the newest key the company has introduced. Inclusion means everyone belongs. Guests and cast members alike, no matter who you are, no matter how you identify. If you are cisgendered, trans, or non-binary, you can be a performer, especially a look-alike one." So we asked another question, very simple, said, do you think there might have been some exceptions made? That cast member said, "So that was really baiting. So I'm going to keep this short, and this will be the end of the conversation. Casting liked them enough to give them the role. That's what matters the most. I'm not going to be comfortable answering anything else." You get the idea. Guys, here's the really interesting thing, though. We've had someone talk to two women who play princess roles at the parks, and this was really helpful for us in that we're going to skip down here a little bit, folks. I really recommend you go read the whole article. It's dense. It's great. It's got a lot of good information in it, but we'll start here. It says, "I asked both of them about the Evil Queen situation in Walt Disney World, and there were definite signs of being conflicted. Both are happy for the performer because it takes an enormous amount of work. The competition for the main character is intense. There is more than just fitting into the costumes and showing up for work on time. After a few more minutes of conversation, it was clear that what happened in Walt Disney World will happen in Disneyland. There are cast members pushing for it right now. I asked if they could bring their concerns to human resources in private. That being that, well, we'll explain that in a moment. Both confirmed that they can, but it's not advisable. You know when there is more going on. Says, I would equate their feelings to Riley Gaines. Both are sincere in their support of a fellow cast member. However, it is clear that losing a female main character to a male performer hurts and creates additional barriers. And so partly that's because taller roles for women are hard to come by. And so when those start to go to other individuals, then, these women, they feel conflicted. They're supportive, but they feel conflicted. All right, guys, let me open up to you for conversation on this. This is a very tricky subject to even talk about, but it's something that's happening at the Disney parks. My position is that there should be transparency. Just tell families if this is what's going to be going on. And I think transparency is the key here. Just be honest and truthful, and then consumers can make their decisions. And that to me seems fair. Guys, am I wrong on any of that? Am I right or am I incomplete? Help me out.
Well, that would prevent the situation that we described in our article, where a Christian conservative family shows up for what they're expecting to be a run-of-the-mill dinner, and they instead run into this performer who appears to be a biological male playing a role that everyone would expect to be played by a female up until the last, year of existence. This is something that
Jonas, have you heard of Shakespeare? Have you heard of Shakespeare? Do you know about Shakespeare?
I have heard of Shakespeare.
Just checking.
Yes, I have.
And the people who watched Shakespeare knew that they were men.
Yes, they did know that they were men, and also that it was illegal for women to perform in theater at the time. And I think we can all agree that was a barbaric and patriarchal custom. I'm not thinking
right, we think women should be playing these roles.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we are very pro women. Okay, continue, Jonas.
Exactly. So you have a situation where the rules have basically changed, but Disney would never publicize that their rules have changed because, well, actually, maybe they would, but they didn't do it because I think they know that they're on shaky ground with a large portion of the American audience here. So they've essentially set up this poor father who's spending a lot of money on probably a $10,000 vacation here. He's doing a $300 meal. We do understand that he still did tip quite handsomely for the service that night, despite the fact that he had a problem because he knew the waiter, who did an excellent job, was not the person who put him in this situation. But that's a lot of money to be spent on something where you're expecting one specific thing to happen, and then it becomes, I'll say, the opposite of that white glove treatment that we've been expecting from the Walt Disney Company. When you're going to do something that you know is controversial, you should tell people that you're going to be doing that controversial thing. This isn't the Howard Stern show. This is supposed to be a Walt Disney World vacation.
So here's some simple things I think to think about. There's the argument that, well, women played Peter Pan at one point. It's like, yes, because Peter Pan is a boy in the story, and men, their voices change. So they had women play Peter Pan so that their voices could match a young boy's voice. What we're watching here is the opposite of that. So I don't think that holds water. But there's also the situation of, let's play this out to its logical conclusion, right? We want to be fair and kind to everybody. But on the side of logic, are we saying that, a 6'4" white male can play Tiana? Like, where is the line? And that's why, because this is, because I don't know where Disney's line is, because I don't share Disney's values. Because of that, that's why I'm advocating for transparency here. Just say this is what you can expect, or this not what you can expect, and tell families and consumers, what it is going in. John, you had a thought.
Yeah, I think that they will continue to hide in secrecy because I think at the end of the day, a lot of the people that work at the Walt Disney Company know what they're doing is absolutely wrong. They know that the motivations behind it are wrong. A lot of the stuff that we actually know about the Walt Disney Company was leaked by Christopher Rufo a couple of years ago. The whole Reimagine Tomorrow stuff. That's how we know that they were removing the gendered greetings. They were we all, what was her name? Latoya Ravenew talked about how they had a not at all, not at all secret gay agenda. So this stuff is all been hush-hush behind closed doors within the Walt Disney Company. They don't make any real public statements of it. And when they do, you see Bob Iger come out and say, oh, I want to quiet the noise. We're not really in a culture war. And then next thing you know, we've got a evil queen that's a man.
Right. Yep. Well, I think that's where we are. And then there are those who are vociferously and angrily, coming back at us and making all of these terrible accusations about us. And it doesn't really bother me because we're simply telling the truth. So I'm never going to be bothered by telling the truth. And that is, it appears to me that something has changed with Disney's casting policies, right? It's just that simple. And, John, you have a position on how you feel about perhaps those casting positions. Jonas, you do. And I'm sure I do. Publicly, I really haven't said much. I literally have just tried to report, hey, here's what happened. Here's what, here's what the implications are, and make of it what you will. And folks out there have responded with just a tremendous amount of dislike and anger. And, that's fine. It's okay with me. But we're going to keep telling the truth. And wherever that leads us, and we'll have to figure out how we tell the truth on different platforms, but we still have to report the news. And I think this is newsworthy because, well, I think the mainstream middle and the sensible center, I think the vast majority of families out there are interested in knowing that, hey, this is what you can expect if you go to a Disney park. Jonas,
it's 100%.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, it's 100% news. I mean, what did Bob Iger just say a month ago? He says that they were no longer involved in culture war politics. That's what he said. I forget which interview he did, but he said that just a month ago. And what is this? This is culture war politics. This is exactly what this is. The intention behind this is clear. They're trying to push this stuff. They're trying to mainstream this stuff, and they're trying to normalize it. It's absolutely heinous. It's wrong, and it's evil.
Yep. Jonas, any additional thoughts on your part?
No, for me as a Christian man, I go to the Bible when I try to determine what my worldview is, and I want to raise my children as Christians. And they will have their own opportunity to affirm their faith if I've instilled it in them. And if I were in a situation like this, I would not want to be so disrespected by the Walt Disney Company. There are people out there that think this is fine for their kids. I disagree with them on that. This is something where there's a lot of concern that Disney will go too far, as they often do in their children's content. So when they hear that there might be a man playing a role that is supposed to be a female role, there are questions in my mind of what is Disney's agenda here? What are they trying to do? As opposed to, we're having a wonderful meal where we get to meet these characters from this classic film from the 1930s. This is the opposite of what should happen on a Disney vacation.
I think that's fair to say. And, I would also just suggest to everybody out there, we know a lot more than what we're talking about. And in no small part, that's due to your work, Jonas. And we're not talking about it. We want to protect everybody involved to the best that we possibly can. We believe in being kind to the maximum amount. But we think there's some stuff going on. And based on what we have in addition, we really think that Disney, or at least I think, I don't want to speak on the behalf of both of you, but I really think Disney needs to look at some of their policies much, much closer. And I'll leave it there.
There's two things that we haven't really gone too far on, the idea of the suggestion that it is a Riley Gaines situation here at the Walt Disney Company. There's two things that I see there. One is changing areas. I'm hoping that those are separated by gender as opposed to, by sex, as opposed to identity. And also, it sounds like there's a lot of women who are going to be silenced by this policy change at the Walt Disney Company. And maybe it's not that recent of a policy change. We are seeing indications, and the research continues here as we find out that this performer has been at the company for a while, not necessarily in the role that we're talking about here, but there are other people in other roles that this is more common than I think we originally thought. And
Well,
I
we
think
saw
that's
that-
going to have a bigger effect on biological female actresses at the Walt Disney Company. And I think that's unfair to female performers to say that they don't have the physical requirements to play male roles, but the men can also take those jobs. I think there's a little bit of a problem there.
There's definitely a problem when there are few roles for tall women. Like there are wardrobe constraints, and there are very few roles for tall women. And if, these are highly sought after roles. I will say this particular role, I am told, is one of the absolute premium jobs for a face character you could ever hope for. It's not out in the weather. It's not a parade. You're not in the heat. You're in air conditioning all the time. And at $300 plus a pop for families, you're dealing with the affluent. So this is as good as it gets. And you just think about, how many of these are there? And you're a tall woman, and you're at Disney, and you think, oh, I can get that role. No, you can't. No, you can't. John, wrap us out here. Give us the bow on top of it.
Yeah, so I think as Jonas kind of hinted at, this stuff isn't new. We know this from the Reimagine Tomorrow stuff. We know this that they added the inclusion key. We know that they have the casting quotas that are in place, and one of those is sexual identity. So this is part of the Walt Disney Company now. The Walt Disney Company, in my opinion, is an anti-Christian company that is instituting these policies. These policies are not in line with Scripture. They're not in line with church teaching. And I think a lot of people need to come to that reality, and it's a hard reality to come to, but that's what it is for me. And Walt Disney is saying that the Walt Disney Company is saying they hate you.
Bob Iger Company. I hate to put Walt's name on it anymore. It's just probably offensive to him if he ever finds out. Well, Walt, we're sorry, but it is what it is. Jonas, you have been doing tremendous work over on That Park Place. Tell the folks what might be coming out this week.
I was told I was on a break. No, we'll be talking, of course, about the Star Wars merchandise that Lucasfilm and Disney just can't seem to move. They're actually moving up their payment policies to try to get people to prepay before they ever see their merchandise. Yeah. Also can't move that Halcyon, otherwise known as the Galactic Star Cruiser merchandise. We found another place that's shown up. So we'll be talking a little bit about that this week. And of course, we've got That Park Place Live coming up on Thursday at noon Eastern time. And we might have a review of the new Knuckles. That's the Sonic the Hedgehog spinoff series over from Paramount Plus.
Paramount definitely needs a win. And the Sonic series has been something giving them a win. So hopefully they will continue with that without screwing it up. John, you're definitely not screwing up the Trent Report, which is something you do beyond just That Park Place. Tell the folks what they can expect on your channel.
Yeah, so there'll probably be some more coverage on what's happening with Stellar Blade. That's an ongoing story. Obviously, Mark Hearn has kind of launched a campaign to try and uncensor that game, and we've been covering that pretty closely. So probably some more updates on that. There's a number of things that are also happening in kind of the gaming sphere. We've got an update from like the Tomb Raider anime adaptation, or anime-like adaptation that Netflix is doing, and kind of changing Lara Croft as they have been doing over the past couple of years. And then probably an update on what's going on with Marvel Studios. It looks like they scrapped a spin-off that was attached to the Marvel. So more fallout for their terrible mistakes.
Very, very cool stuff. Also, folks, please forgive us in this video if we have been clumsy in our speech at times. We're attempting to tell the truth as best we can on a subject that is just frankly very difficult to approach. And we're doing our very best to be forthright, and at the same time doing our very best to be kind in every way possible. We hope you understand as we navigate this. It's not even something that is perhaps allowable to talk about in some places, but we believe in bringing the news as best we can, and we think this is newsworthy. We think you probably agree. So folks, click the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, it's the notification bell, drop a comment down below and let us know your thoughts. Remember, we are here to bring a voice to the sensible center, the majority that's in the middle, those of you out there who say, just make my theme parks good and safe, thank you very much. All right, folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Listen up, my brothers and sisters. You've been listening to Phils and Zoes with an agenda to destroy your brain cells for far too long. It's time to change your way of doing things. Hold up. TPP is the place to be. Covering the news so honestly. It's a team that's cool and tried and true. Ahead of the culture curve, they're trying to keep you. Jonas and Pro, they run the show, and they dragged in the bearded culture casino. You got Valiant and Lord and Fourth of Line. Wonderful people, yeah, they're alright. They got weird bringing in people like Floral, but made no mistake with Lorena Creole. Amelia and John, stuttering guitarist. Martin and Tawny and someone called CMS. Fat Steven makes a bunch of other graphics. Did I mention a partnership with Bending in the comics? Fat Sky is a guy and Doc Matt does the web stuff. There's probably some people I missed. I hope they're not telling you the news. That should be fun. With accurate info that's not been spun. You can figure it out as you will see. The TPP is the place to be.
Yeah, Wilton. That was actually pretty good, or white. But I think you might have forgotten Vash.
Well, he lost all his friends. But it was implied.